Okay, 1515 is really just a capper for the whole unit. And rather than going from your own personal experiences, your own family, and things like that, now we're going to talk about biographies. Now, the way they set it up in here as a class project to sort of overlap with deaf culture and deaf history is to pick out a famous deaf person and do research on them and do this basically as a research paper. Oftentimes, because we're getting close to the end of the semester, this is just an added thing. It's also material that we tend to cover in the deaf culture classes. So we've sort of made the decision that we'd rather focus on language than the deaf culture stuff and let people who are taking the deaf culture courses explore that. So depending on the teacher, they may assign this, but it's taking all of the same stuff we've done up till now. Biography stuff, immigration status, family roles. We haven't really gone that deeply into, I don't want to say alternative family structures. The updates on Signing Naturally's books for units 1 through 7 or 1 through 12 do actually go much more broadly into this topic. The pink book didn't and doesn't because it's far older. So for here, it just will come out of any conversations that we have. Once the pink book gets updated and published, I'm sure it will go much more deeply and broadly into that concept. So that said, it will all depend on your instructor, whether they're going to give you something to do. Consider this a paper report, except you're going to jot down the bullet point information and then sign it. All the same stuff we've done with possessives, right? When you set someone up, theirs versus theirs, mine, yours. And then there's the reminder to go through the student book and go through all the assignments. There are more assignments. I actually am posting a PowerPoint for the unit review that gives some of those homeworks. And over the course of time, depending on when you watch this PowerPoint, it will be tweaked and we'll add more stuff to each of these PowerPoints, as I've said before. But this really isn't that much of a study. Laurent Claire was the French teacher that was brought over by Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet to take French Sign Language and adapt it into American Sign Language and create a system of education. Granville Redmond was, if I'm not misremembering, he was an actor that worked with Charlie Chaplin, who was a deaf actor. There's some pictures of him signing with Chaplin. Who else anybody else I want to talk to? There's notable deaf persons. There's a book that's footnoted here, 2 of them, notable deaf persons from Gallaudet, and then Deaf Heritage and Narrative History. And I do have a copy of that here somewhere. I would show it to you. It's a big book that was done by Jack Gannon with some of the first real great research looking back through the histories. But you could use the same thing to talk about anybody. One of the things I would tend to recommend to my students who have different majors is to see if there was anybody who was notable in their major who was deaf that would be worth talking about. Eventually, I'd love to have a database in our lab that people could study deaf people in many different careers and fields. Who knows? So many of these are so recent that you could find someone who's potentially still alive and could talk to about your major. Apart from that, that's really it. We've got the review of the vocab that we've put in at the end. That's about it for right now. So background.